I like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Stowaway. A three-person crew on a mission to Mars faces an impossible choice when an unplanned passenger jeopardizes the lives of everybody else on board. Movie just came out 2 hours long. Spoiler alert. Let's get it. So here we got Anna, David, and Tony Collette all ready for takeoff. A little bit of a bumpy ride, but they all make it safely into space. I know it's a trippy sight. You're just there looking at the Earth from here, man. It's wild. They're flying out and their ship attaches itself to this satellite contraption thing, which is really a mechanism for the canisters of oxygen and also for your energy supply. So basically, their mission is to get to Mars. It's going to be a 2-year mission. They got food, equipment, supplies, and all that. But his level of expertise is to keep the algae fresh, and he's been working on this experiment for years. Zoe's supposed to be the doctor of the crew. I can't believe she still looks the same as the first time she's ever stepped into an acting role. Maybe she got money, maybe it's genetics, I don't know. She might have some Indian in her. I got some Indian in me, but, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, David went to Yale and Zoe went to Harvard. You know, they got school jokes, I guess. They get on a Zoom call and they talk to this guy named Jim. Now, because you really couldn't hear Jim, I thought they were sending messages. But for some strange reason, they wouldn't let you hear the responses from Jim. I don't know why they did that. But she basically reiterated everything that Jim was saying for the audience, I guess. While Tony was walking around the ship, she spotted blood on the ground. What the fuck? She looks up and there's blood coming from the ceiling of the life support panel. She goes to unscrew it, and there's a full-fledged man in the panel. What in all of the fuck? She tries to get him down, but he lands on her hand. Everybody comes to help her out. Now, right off the back, I got a lot of damn questions. First off, how did he get in there? Who put him there? Was he part of another ruthless crew that stuck him up there? And after they took care of him, he was still alive. How? As they was taking care of him, he had this ridiculous gash on the side of his stomach. Tony's talking to superior Jim like, what the fuck we gonna do about this? Eventually he wakes up, in a state of shock after he looks out the window and realizes he's in fucking space. So once again, who, what, where, when, why, how? Why would anybody stuff him in a fucking spaceship? He's talking about he can't be away from his sister. You gotta turn the spaceship around. He's like, no, we don't have enough fuel for that shit. And everybody else in the crew tells him the situation. They try to get him to calm down because he's hyperventilating like crazy. So once he calms down, we find out he worked at the same space station as they did. He was in the program to be an engineer, but how he got on a spaceship is anybody's mystery. He says he'll do anything he can to be useful to the rest of the crew. He even helps out David with his algae plants as they have a heck of a conversation about jazz music. Zoe tries to fix the unit that was damaged by Michael when they pulled him down from the ceiling, which when he was up there was burnt to a crisp. Tony drags David to talk to him one-on-one. Obviously, they didn't plan for 4 people being on this trip, so that's going to present a problem. I'm not sure what they were teaching him here, but it's something to help the crew, I guess. So Tony wants David to double dose the algae time or something like that. But one wrong move could effectively kill the plants, which he's been working years on. As they were working on one part of the ship, Michael's stitches tore again. As she's working on the side, you can see all these burn marks on the front of his stomach. I'll tell you where that came from in a minute. Tony and David talk about the algae stuff again, which once again she wants him to work double time on, but like she said, it could be dangerous. And David was right because half the stock got killed off. Now Tony, I know you're in dire straits because you have a 4th passenger, but if you know this stuff is fragile, why would you risk that? Now we have another problem. Because of the algae dying and we found out that one of the canisters is leaking on the other side of the spaceship, making the trip they don't have enough oxygen for 4 people. They barely have enough for 3. So her suggestion is she's slowly hinting at killing off somebody. Yeah, and exactly. What the fuck? It's either that or everybody's going to die. Now they say they could last 20 days with the oxygen they have now, but they're going to limit the situation down to 10 days, to make a decision. But because of the algae, even David said even that is risking it. So if they're going to expect Michael to walk the plank on some Pirates of the Caribbean type shit, obviously they're not going to tell him about the situation. So now when they go to talk to him, they barely have any conversation like that. I think he's starting to pick up the vibes from the crew members. While Anna's working on Michael's stitches again, he tells this story about how his dad saved him and his sister from a burning building or whatever, and he didn't make it. And the burn marks on his stomach are from that incident. And that's some heartbreaking shit to hear, but considering what Zoe knows now, she's still not saying much to him. That's some heartbreaking shit, especially considering what the crew has planned for him. So it's been 3 days, David approaches Michael, and he says fuck it and flat out tells him the situation. He gives him a cyanide needle and tells him, hey, whenever you're ready. That's some fucked up shit, but at least you're giving him a choice. So he gets on a Zoom call, sends a message out to his sister, tells her he loves her and all that. And he's basically considering taking the needle until Zoe shows up. Zoe says, fuck all that, we're gonna find a way. So obviously Zoe's pissed off at David for even giving him the needle. I mean, it's fucked up, and at the same time you can understand the situation. Zoe then teaches Michael how to climb the tethers for the panels. Because if push comes to shove, they're gonna have to get the oxygen canisters from the other side of the spaceship. Well, guess what? Push has come to shove now. Because the other algae plants failed too. So now we gotta decide which two people are gonna climb the tether so they can get the oxygen canisters. It's gonna end up being Zoe and David, and Tony has to, control through the ship, and Michael doesn't have enough experience to do it. And let me tell you, this part right here is the most gut-wrenching, heart-clenching, scariest part of the movie. They're going outside the spaceship, walk the platforms. Tony's gonna tell them exactly what to do from the inside of the ship, and they're gonna climb the tethers. This is some scary shit. And they gotta be careful around this panel too, because if they mess around with this part, it could cut off power to the ship permanently. This is crazy, but it's either that or just suffocate to death. Well, anyway, they get around that, and I hate the fact that they're so casually sliding down the pole with this. It's like, put a rope around the pole or something, man. Look at this sight. Just look at this sight, yo. As you see the two just sitting there at the top part of the screen. They finally make it there. Then he's got to slide her down the rope to the door. It's like, oh my god. She gets to open the door. Look at that. Look at that. Fuck that shit. She makes it inside, checks the pressure gauge. Now, 250 is a whole canister. They need 500 for 2 canisters. Enough for all 4 of them to have oxygen. David sends down 1 canister. She gets it filled up all good and gravy. David brings it back up. That's 1. As they're about to get the second one, an alarm goes off. It's like, oh my god, that's not good. Turns out a fucking space storm is coming and they have less than 20 minutes to get back in the ship. At this point, my heart is beating out my fucking chest right now. And they're still considering trying to fill up that second canister. I know, Zoe, I get it, but you gotta get the fuck out of there. He gets her back up with 1 canister. So at this point, they get that 1 canister in there, it'll be back to at least 3 people surviving this trip. They get to the panels again, but as she gets past the panels, she can't control her speed and she's sliding down like crazy. She ends up hitting the station too hard, and the canister floats off into space. What in all of the fuck, man? So now they're at the point it's hard for them to breathe in there. I don't like Zoe crying, yo. I feel like she's about to do something heroic. She gives David a hug and tells her she's going for that second canister. I'm like, oh my god. Bottom line at this point, she can't be talked out of it. She goes back to the spot, fills up the second canister, and then she's going back to the spaceship. Man, look at that sight, yo. That shit is trippy. She makes it back to the spot and you see this like green mist flowing around. I'm not sure exactly what that is. Maybe it's her aura. I'm gonna just call it space dust. As you can see the sadness in the crew's faces, like, man, this ain't good. And then we see the canister that she retrieved. Obviously, it's only 1 canister. It's only gonna be enough for 3 people on this trip. The last thing we see is her sitting outside looking into space. So I'm going to venture to say she was waiting for another space storm to just take her away. I ain't gonna lie, I felt something coming halfway through the movie, but up to the last 20 minutes, man, I feel like my soul's been ripped out, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, Stowaway on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. Slick Deezy out the Heezy, Mr. Ha 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 ha, big. Who the goddamn slogan?